Hello, and welcome back to another Star Wars Legion video. This week we're going to be talking about the CIS units that are not Commander or Operatives, and we're going to be ranking them on a tier list, so that includes Core, Special Forces, Support, and Heavies. There have been a few point changes, and some universal cards introduced. The only thing that I'm really taking into account here point changes overall, which doesn't really affect the Separatists too much. But I have not been able to test the new universal cards too much, so I don't want them affecting this tier list at all right now, and to kind of stay consistent with the previous tier lists. And then after I am done making the tier list videos, which will probably be next week with the Rebel one, the week after that, I'll probably talk a little bit more about how maybe the new universal cards change up that tier list, and just make a big overview video for all the tier lists like that. But with that out of the way, let's dive right on into the Separatist units here, starting off with our core. Again, as always, we're starting off with the mercenary units here for the Separatists. I honestly think the Separatists have a lot of good core options, so I'm going to be putting the Black Sun and Pikes down in D for them. I just think their other core options are just so much better for them overall. A lot of what you're wanting to do with the Separatists is have the best order control that you can on the board, or if not, with the Geonosians, you can't really do that as much, but you still can if you take like Sunfac. But yeah, so I'm not really looking at the mercenary units here when I'm ever making a Separatist, because they just kind of ruin that order synergy of passing the orders along. So yeah, so they're going down in D. Again, if you want to see their keywords, you can look them up, or you can watch one of the previous videos. I think I go over them and some of the other tier lists. But let's dive right on in with the first actual affiliated Separatist core unit, which is the B1. I'm putting them in B for B1. No, I'm putting them in B because I think, honestly, they're not the best core unit you can take, and I'm not going to be putting any of the core units in S tier for the Separatists, just because they're mostly weak. But for 38 points, you get 6 of these guys on the field. They're a really cheap core option. You can run a lot of droids. You can run the super squads really easy for the Separatists and just get a ton of B1s. If you take Separatist Invasion Force, Battle Force, you can get even more B1s on the field, I believe. So yeah, I would just... They're pretty crazy in numbers, but they're weak for attacking, and they are weak in defense. So you're mostly just using them as health pools on the field and like distraction pieces oftentimes. Maybe you put some rad cannons on there, but overall, when I'm playing the Separatists, I have them to pass my orders along to some of my more heavy hitters like the Magnas or the BXs, if they're down the field from where my commanders are, or if I just want to chain my orders that way. But with that said, we're going to be moving on to, by the way, they have AI attack and coordinate droid trooper, which is why they're allowed to chain those orders along. Moving on to B2s, which are the superior core unit overall for the Separatists. They have red defense. They have 2 health each. They are, I believe, almost twice as expensive now. They only have AI attack. They do roll better 2 hits. The B1s roll white dice, while the B2s in range 2 will roll, or melee will roll 2 black, or if they're within range 1, they can roll 1 red. So 2 black, 1 red. You have to get a little bit closer. They do have some really good heavy options. So yeah, I would look into those if you're running the B2s. But yeah, I think they're a solid unit. You get a little bit less order control thinking about that while on the field. So if you unless you're taking Poggle the Lesser, which can gives them an order, 1 unit an order, or if you're taking like Count Dooku, where he can just direct an order to a trooper unit, or if you're taking Kalani, that can also direct an order to an AI unit, and they are an AI unit. So yeah, lots of ways to get orders out onto the field, so don't worry about it too much, and they are superior to B1s in terms of defense and attack, but you also get that in their point values. Not too much to say about them either. Moving on to the Geonosian Warriors that have a lot more keywords with a free jump 3 move, which is just fantastic for mobility. Death from above, which means if they're on a higher terrain piece than what they're shooting, that person gets no cover. No matter if they would have, like if they had cover, they would just get none. Scale and way down. If they collect an asset token, they don't get that free jump move. I honestly highly rate these guys too. I rate them above B1s again. I'm putting them both in A tier, the other 2 core units. Now, I'm only ever taking 1 unit of Geonosian Warriors, while I might take more units of B2s in my army. I'm really only taking 1 unit of Geonosian Warriors, and I like super squatting them sometimes, but other times not. It just really depends on what I'm trying to do with that army. They're really good. Like I said, Count Dooku can give them an order if they need an order on the field, so you don't have too many core orders in your bag or anything like that. It just helps with that. I think they're solid. They are a little bit weaker. They roll white defense still. They do surge to defend, though, unlike the B1s, who just don't surge at all. Their sonic blasters are better than the B1s. It's range 1 to 2. They roll a black and a white. Their melee is black. However, I'm normally taking a heavy weapon with them, and both of their heavy options are solid. They got the spear guy that lets you do an overrun attack and be better in melee, and then they have the sonic blaster, which is just a bigger version of their standard guns. I actually don't remember what it's exactly called, but it's a really good gun. It has scatter. I've been wrecked by that scatter. The first couple times I was running the Ahsoka Super Squad and Gar, one of the times I got hit by one of these Geonosian squads that had the scatter gun, and it just wrecked that unit of mine. That's just my misplay, but like I remember it. It can be very good situationally, is what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, those are all the core options. I really think they have some very solid core options. Mostly when I'm playing Separatists, I will mostly stick to those B1s and then put my points somewhere else because they just have better options other places. But if I want a better core option, I am going with those 2 A tier core rather than the B1s. But yeah, that's it about the core options for the Separatists. We're going to move on to the Magna Guards and the BX droids for Special Forces. Now, personally, I like the Magna Guards more. I think they're solid. I take them probably too often whenever I'm playing Separatist. They have AI dodge or move. They have charge. They have Guardian 2 for commander only, so they can only Guardian 2 a commander unit. They have immune melee pierce, and they have retinue commander. So if they're within 2 of a commander, they can take a token or an aim token. And they have unhindered, which means they can just move through difficult terrain. Much like the Geonosians, they have a 1 to 2 gun that is a black and a white, and then they have a melee that is 2 black instead of 1 black, like the Geonosians have. But I really like taking the heavy whip on them, the electro whip. I think that's a solid gun. It's a range 1, the melee, and it gives 2 red, immobilized token, and it is versatile. So if they're in melee with someone, that guy can split the pool and hit someone outside of that melee, which is just interesting. Also, just take a standard extra Magna Guard if you want, or you take the rocket launcher, which has impact if you need more impact in your army. However, I think they have better impact options later on in the list. So it's really only if you're desperate or if like the metas and you need a lot of impact, which right now might be the meta, because I believe from what I've seen in other videos of other Star Wars Legion content creators, is that it's a pretty heavy tank and people with armor lists, and I don't know how the new cards or new points are going to shake up any of that. I know that the Separatists are really strong right now, so if you're watching this because Separatists are really strong, I apologize, because I am only a casual player. I do not play competitively, and this is just my general thoughts on stuff. But we'll go more into that whenever we get to the most powerful unit that people say is in the Separatist force. I've talked about Magna Guards, but I haven't put them on here. I'm going to put them in A. I'm putting them in S. I like them. I think they're a great unit. I would take them all the time. I take them all, pretty much in every Separatist army I play. I take one unit of them. I don't take more than one. And I just kind of have them hit those, because most factions, if not all, will have probably a lightsaber user on the board, because that is just a very strong character. The Magna Guards are kind of your counter to that, if you don't want to do a heavy lightsaber into a heavy lightsaber or whatever. Magna Guards can help with that, and they're a great supporting unit to anyone like Asajj or Count Dooku. Or General Grievous. So, especially General Grievous, because he has entourage them, so he can give them an order. But, yeah, I think they're S tier. They're great. Moving on to the BXs, however, they have Jump 1, they have AI Dodge They have Impervious, Scale, Scout 3, and Sharpshooter 1. From range 1 to 3, they roll 2 white, and from melee, they roll 1. They surge the hit. Magna Guards also surge the hit. I forgot to mention that. And they have red defensive dice and move 2. I'm going to put these in B. I take them occasionally now because I've just had... It's probably because of how I play them, honestly. But they're just too lacking for their point cost. Magna Guards cost 72 points base, and BXs cost 64 base, but whenever I'm taking BXs, I'm always taking the Deoxy Mine, which is 28 points, which is 92, while with the Magna Guards, with my heavy, again, it's 100, so I'm only 8 points above with the Magna Guards, but I just feel like my Magna Guards hit more and give me more value on the board than the BXs. And it could just be how I'm playing them, but I just think the BXs are a little bit weak when it comes to actually attacking people. Because, and honestly, to make them valuable, you need more than just the Deoxy Mine. You also need the Vibra Swords to help, which then just is 2 points below the Magnus, without any other upgrades, in order to make them viable within melee, which is really where you want the BXs. There's not a whole lot of reason to have them at that range, since they only roll white dice. You're not hitting as well. That's just my personal opinion. I would go melee with them, and maybe that's why I'm playing them wrong. But they're just B tier to me. I can't get as much value out of them as I can my Magna Guards. But yeah, that is them. And that is the Special Forces. There's only 2 units, so it's pretty fast. And we're moving on into the support. I'm going to start with the Staff Riders. I think they're C tier, and we'll talk about them just briefly. They have Agile 1, which means after they move, they get a dodge. They have AI moves. They have Coordinate Droid, Trooper, or Vehicle, which is one of the main reasons I take them in some armies, is because of that Coordinate Vehicle, and I just want better order control in certain armies. Or they have Coordinate Droid Trooper as well. They have Cover 1 and they have Speeder 1, which means they have to make a full move, and they ignore Terrain Height 1. Cover 1 just means they have Cover 1. That's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Yeah, they just don't get as much value as I want for their point cost. Their cost 70 points, which is tied... excuse me. Just tied with the most expensive support unit, and probably a way better unit to take. By probably, I mean it is a lot better to take. Also, droidicas are 67 points, and the spider droid is 50. The other unit that's tied with the stats are 70 is the crab droid, and I'd much rather take the crab droid over the stat riders. Not else to say, I really like the mobility, which is the only reason they're in C tier, because of that 3 move instead of a 2 move or a 1 move. But I just don't rate them that high compared to the other support. And the support category for the Separatists can be kind of it's very crowded for what you're picking because of the rest of the units. And moving in to the first unit of that is the droidicas. They cost 67 points. They have AI attack or move. They have generator 1, which means they just get to flip a free shield after a turn that they didn't flip a shield. Oh no, sorry, wrong keyword. I think they just get to flip a shield at the end of the round. They have shielded 4, and they have wheel mode. Wheel mode, they can go up to speed 3 and they get cover 2, but they also lose their shields for that whole round that they are in wheel mode. So it's kind of a risk/reward thing with just moving further, which can be nice on certain turns if you need to move them further, if they need to like contest an objective. And I really like that versatility. And honestly, I think they are A tier, and I'm only putting them in A tier because of some of the other support I think are just better. But yeah, I highly rate them. They can be kind of a moving wall, kind of like the Aquas, which we'll get into in a little bit, but they are just a solid unit to take in the support category, especially for 67 points. You don't need to put any upgrades. You can put link targeting array on them if you really want, but they honestly don't need that as much either, and you can save the points. Moving on to the next one, which is the Crab Droid. It has Armor 2. It has Climbing Vehicle, Programmed, which means you have to put a program on it, Reposition, Scale, Scout 1, and Scouting Party 1, which means they get to give people their scouting value. They have attack protocols, which gives them AI aim, and precise 2. They have defensive protocols, which gives them nimble and outmaneuver and AI dodge. And they have engagement protocols, which is attack or move AI, which is the cheapest option because they don't get any extra keywords with it. So for them, I think they're a solid S pick for support. And that is mostly because of just what they can do. They have a move 2. It's pretty solid. They are a ground vehicle. They're not really doing anything with that. They do give cover. But that's pretty much it. Pretty solid. But yeah, it's not as much. It's a really good unit. I can't say too much. They also surge the hit. I almost missed that. And they have red defense dice. So you need impact in order to get past their armor 2 unless you're rolling just a ton of hits. Very tanky. They have some really nice gun options with the heavy laser, which rolls 5 black, or the twin blasters, which is 2 red, 2 black, that you can affix to them. It's just a really solid unit. Point cost wise, I think it's pretty fair. I'm probably only taking 1, maybe 2 of these when I run an army. Probably no more than that, though. Moving on to the Dwarf Spider Droid. I think this is a B unit. It has free self-destruct 3, it has armor 3, it has climbing vehicle, it has expert climber, and it has programmed. It has a pretty nice gun. Again, it has the same programs as the Crab Droid. It has some pretty interesting gun options if you want to take those. It has a flamethrower that rolls a black and a white per mini in the unit that you're attacking. It has an ion blaster, which has ion 1, impact 2, and it rolls 3 black, 3 white. And it has a laser cannon, which is 1 rainbow and 2 black, and critical 1. on this. I'm probably taking either the laser cannon or the flamethrower. They changed the self-destruct rules. I'm not as familiar with those as I should be, but I don't find it to be that helpful in games, so that's kind of why it's not super impactful to me, I guess. They do surge the hit and they surge the defend because I have white dice. I find these guys die pretty fast, so that's why they're in B. I want them on the board longer, but they die pretty fast, even with armor 3. Especially going into like stuff that's heavy impact armies and stuff. They just don't last long, and I want them to last a little bit longer, like the grab droids. And that's just white defense type versus red defense type when I'm playing. It's nothing more than that. But yeah, that is it for the support category. And now we're moving on to probably the hardest category for me to put on this tier list. I'm going to start off with this snail tank, or the Persuader class tank. It has armor 5, arsenal 2, programmed, reposition, transport, weak point sides 1, and white defense dice with white surges and crit surge the hit. Sorry. It rolls 1 rainbow within 1 to 2 with ion 1, impact 1, and critical 1. And then it has heavy blasters at range 1 to 4. That is 1 rainbow, 1 extra white, and 1 extra black with critical 1. And this is just a solid gun. Its move 1 shouldn't be too looked upon for mobility because it is one of those longer bases, so it can actually move further than you think. Yeah, this is just I'm gonna keep it at high A, low S tier for heavies. Again, this is just against the other heavies that I think are better overall. I do think the Persuader tank is one of the best units to take in the Separatist force if you're looking for units to take. However, with the kind of new thing to play with right now, which we'll get into in about 2 units, is the Aquas, and we'll get into why I would take them over this. A little preamble with that is the AAT battle tank, or the episode 1 tank. I'm putting it in B. I really rate this tank. It's the tank that the first tank that I had for Star Wars Legion. It was whenever me and my buddy first started playing, it was the only heavy vehicle that we had, and it would just wreck the field. It has a high attack, armor 5, arsenal 2, barrage, hover ground, weak point 2 rear. It has a 1 to 2 weapon that fires 3 black, and it's also fixed front. It has a 2 to 4 weapon, which is 4 red, which is critical 2, high velocity, and impact 2. I honestly would put this in A, if not for the other heavy options in the Separatist force. I really rate it because you take it base, because I love the barrage keyword where it can make 2 attacks. And oftentimes when I take it in the new rules, it's just sitting at one of the back points for defense and just pounding whatever person I can find that has a ton of dodges or anything that I need for that high velocity, because of its 2 to 4 gun with the 4 red with high velocity and impact 2 and crit 2. It just does a ton of damage in one turn because you get to fire it twice at someone. It's just very nice. I rate it. It has 9 health. It does surge the hit. It's just a solid tank. The tank. Take. Yes. But yeah, solid B unit. Definitely great. A little bit overcosted though at 165 points versus the snail tank, which is 130. You get 2 more health in the snail tank with a little bit worse defensive dice. But that's just if you need the defensive dice. And then finally, for the last heavy option, we have Aquas. I know for a fact that they're dominating, I believe, right now in the meta. At least that's what I've heard from the competitive play. So that's kind of what's impacting this a little bit. I haven't played with them too much. I just know they're really good. They look really good on paper, and that's why they're S tier. They're a moving wall because they are a ground vehicle. The other two units count as ground vehicles in the heavy section for Separatists. One's technically a repulsor vehicle, while the other one is a ground vehicle. But that repulsor counts as a ground because of hover ground. But yeah, these Aquas are a moving wall that are just annoying. They have Infiltrate, Armor 2, and AI Attack Move, or Move, sorry. They have white defense dice with white surges, and they have Surge the Hit. They have a 1-3 gun that is 1 black, 1 white, and they have a melee which is 1 red, impact 1. They also have 3 health each. You do start off with a squad of 3. You can get a squad of 4 if you put in their heavy option, which is a guy that has a weapon that is a range 1-3, and it has 2 red, 1 white, and impact 2. And overall for that, that's 93 points for that whole unit if you don't put a comms upgrade on them. Yeah. 93 points for a 12 health cost unit that has armor through 2 is pretty insane. Like I said, they're a moving wall. Since they're a ground vehicle, in the rules they count for cover, and since their silhouette is bigger than any regular trooper silhouette, they can just fully block line of sight to your troopers in the back, and you can use them as a moving wall pushing forward, which is just really solid. They are slow with movement 1, but they also have Infiltrate, so most likely they're getting on the board further than a lot of your units, especially on the Separatist list, since most units don't have Infiltrate or anything like that for the Separatists. So yeah, they're a solid unit. There's not much else I can say about them. I think they're just S tier. If you agree with this list, awesome. You can leave a comment. If you don't, you can also leave a comment. Tell me what your thoughts are. Like I said, I have not played too much with Aquas, so if I'm completely off base with them being S tier, just let me know. Without further ado, thank you so much for watching. I'm sure to get back to you about a video with some different changes to the tier list overall once I'm done making them all because of the new changes. But we'll get there when we get there. I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!